A few games into the Borrego-led Pelicans, and we still are not winning. A breakdown of the team and what to expect on this edition of The Nest. Hello and welcome back, everybody, to the next RXP. It's been a little bit since we last talked, but I was waiting for Willie Green to get fired so I can actually do a video on that and what we can expect from that. But it's been a pretty eventful last few weeks. We got a lot of stuff to talk about, but before we do, please hit that like button down below, hit the subscribe, and go check out the TikTok. I post daily content over there, and not just about the Pelicans. I post some stuff about other teams as well. So if you're here from the other NBA teams and you're just getting caught in the crossfire, the TikTok is where you should go check out. But we are about 3 games, I think, into this JB-led Pelicans team, and I have mixed feelings, but I do like what I am seeing just because it is good. There is good change happening, and we got a lot to talk about with it. We got a lot to talk about. It also helps getting Z back. Zion came back. It was his second game. As I'm recording this, we just lost a heartbreaker to the Dallas Mavericks because of Najee Marshall, and so I'm a little emotional from that still, but I wanted to get this video up as soon as I possibly could. So, what to talk about? First things first, what I'm liking from Borrego's offense, because the issue that we all had, Pelicans fans and myself included, had with Willie Green and why we called for his firing is because, one, he lost the team, he lost the passion of the team, but also because he didn't really run an offense. And Borrego is an offensive specialist. He's one of the smartest basketball tacticians in the league. But the offense, it's very hit or miss. And I'm always hesitant to make heavy judgment because Borrego's only had 2 practices, maybe 3. He may have had 3 practices with this team. He's only had a couple practices. He's only had a couple days with them. And on the same time, he never had a training camp, and he's still missing his starting point guard in DeJounte Murray, or Jordan Poole if you want to consider him the starting point guard. He's still missing Carlo Makovich, who recently got a calf strain. He hasn't been healthy either, and you just got Zion back. And a lot of the team is still meshing together and are still rookies, so I'm kind of giving him the benefit of the doubt in that regard. But the main thing that I like and what I'm seeing is that they're actually using Derek Queen and Zion as they're supposed to, as hubs, as 2-man and 3-man action with Trey Murphy. And that's what I'm going to talk about, because there are a lot of plays where you have DQ, Derek Queen, who we're going to get into in a little bit, Zion and Trey all on the floor together, and you run some nice action with them. When you have Derek Queen, Zion, and Trey Murphy all on the floor together, it makes the offense super easy. It creates so much gravity and so much space for whether it's the starters of Jeremiah Fears or Herb Jones or Jose Alvarado or whoever else is coming into the game, Micah Peavy or Jordan Hawkins or whoever is in the game. If those 3 are on the floor, it's probably Micah Peavy and Jose in the game, because I think Jose is Jeremiah's substitution and then Micah is Herb's substitution. I think that's normally the pattern, because what I'm noticing is James Borrego likes to not mirror players, but he likes to use players in like the same roles. So not always, there are exceptions, but when Jeremiah Fears comes out, Jose goes in, and they both serve as that primary ball handler, point guard. When Herb comes out, Micah comes in, he serves as that primary point of attack defender. When Trey comes out, Hawk comes in to serve as that shooter and just like score. And then when Z comes out, that's a little trickier. He typically uses Sadiq Bey as the Z replacement, and then Derek Queen is an Eve, which they don't really compare. But it's just like, that one I think is just more like, okay, we just need forwards and centers to play the role. Regardless, though, when you have those 3 on the floor together, it makes the offense so much easier. And there's so many different actions that you can run with them. I'm not going to go through each and every action that they ran, especially the last 2 games. I don't have enough time to go through each and every action. But what I did like is that they had Queen up at the top of the key, or right in that Dirk Nowitzki isolation spot, where he was allowed to essentially just facilitate the offense as a hub. He was just able to just, okay, I have the ball, who's open, get it to him, back cuts and everything. They did that a lot in the first quarter, and that's why we had such a successful first quarter, because they were able to do that so freely. And I'm talking about the Dallas game, the game we just lost, the Dallas game. Truth is, the offense can be made a lot simpler and a lot more consistent by simply just having Z or DQ be a screener. That is it. If you put Zion or Derek Queen in a screening action, and you have them have either one of those short roll to the rim and have the other one in the dunker spot, or have a lob threat like you use Missy in the dunker spot, boom. You have a play that's going to get you a good bucket every single time. The issue is, I feel the team isn't running it super consistently. They definitely try to, but there's also a lot of times where they just don't have everybody on the floor at the same time, and they're forced to drop something else. There's also a lot of times where I'm noticing that, especially with the Dallas game, when you have someone like Derek Queen who is served as a hub, a lot of what the Dallas Mavericks did is they essentially denied all the passes when Derek Queen was that hub. So when Derek Queen got the ball, they were like, okay, don't worry about him, just deny everything and make him score, make him be that dude. And that's what teams do with Jokic. The only difference is Jokic is a absolute beast when it comes to offensive. He's an absolute offensive threat. He can score from every level on the floor, and pretty much anything he takes, there's a risk of it going in. Derek Queen is not at that level just yet. He'll do it. He'll bully them, and he'll still attack the closeout, and he'll still be like, okay, fine, I'll do it myself. But it's not as effective. It's not as efficient, because it's not always going to work. And I think that's the biggest issue with it. So what happens when they do that? What should James Borrego do? That's not really up for me to decide. I'm not a coach. I'm not going to pretend to be a coach. I am an analyst. I'm a fan. I'm a viewer. I'm nothing more. But I have a couple ideas. First and foremost, my biggest idea is to use that short roll a lot more consistently. Instead of using Queen as a starting hub, which is what I call, I have a lot of these aren't technical names, they're my names. So a starting hub is when you get the ball up the court. Say Jeremiah Fears is bringing up the ball as the point guard, Derek Queen's at the top of the key, you get it to Derek Queen, and he's facilitating the offense from that hub. That's a starting hub. What I'm talking about is a soft roll hub. When a soft roll hub is when you have a short form pick and roll that drops him off, and he's essentially acting as a hub from the free throw line, or just behind the 3-point line. That soft spot of, typically it's a zone, that soft spot gives you so much capabilities in order to pass, because the defense is already closing in a little bit more to try and contain him, because Derek Queen, he's deadly enough that you kind of have to cover boxes and elbows in order to prevent him from getting straight to the rim. So just having him there creates corner separation, it creates lob threats, it creates a lot. So I think if teams are doing that, that's an easy way that you can play faster and get some quality looks. Pick and roll, drop the ball off to Derek Queen, and then space out and just figure out who's going where. If you're running with the starters, have Jeremiah, how would I do it? Yeah, I would have Jeremiah start with the ball, like I said, drop it off to Derek Queen in the soft spot of the zone, or like about the free throw line, like I said. Have Trey space out to the right corner, or whatever the opposite corner would be. If you're running a right to left pick and roll where Jeremiah Fears is going right, Derek Queen is going left, then have Jeremiah go to the right and have Trey go to the left. If it's vice versa, then vice versa. And then have Zion be in the dunker. Have Herb be in the right corner, have Trey be in the left corner with Zion, and then have Fears go to the continue right and be above the break three, because that's his hot zone right there, that above the break right three. He's very efficient on those. And from then on, just play. You have Zion in the dunker spot, have him cut, you have an easy lob for him, or defense are going to be like, oh crap, here comes Zion, he's running, he's going to catch the lob. Have Trey Murphy space out a little bit to above the break, and Derek Queen can make that pass, easy catch and shoot. Or they stay home, they stop Z, deny Z, and then you just attack right, force the defense to close in off of Herb and off of Jeremiah Fears, pass it to Herb, who passes it to Fears, who just keep moving the ball around until you get an open shot. That's an easy play, and that can be done very effectively. But honestly, the issue isn't our offense with those three on the court. The issue is because with those three on the court, they run it beautifully. The issue comes when those three are off the court, which there's only been a couple times when none of the trio of Queen, Trey, and Zion are on the court together. There's none. There shouldn't be, but there's maybe 2 minutes in each half that happens. What do you do then? Personally, you should never let that happen, but it may happen. And if it does happen, what do you do? Simply put, you gotta have Jeremiah Fears, DeJounte Murray, Jordan Poole. One of those three has to be in the game, if not more. More of those guys have to be in the game. Because those guys, they can run pick and rolls. They can facilitate offense. And while I love Jose, he's best served as a corner catch and shoot guy. He's best served almost like a shooting guard, in a way. He's best off the ball. And what I want for Jose is I want Jose to play in lineups with Zion and Eves, where you can put Jose in the corner and run pick and rolls with Z and then just have spacing around those two. Because Jose, he can't really facilitate the offense anymore because he can pass fine. He's a good passer, but he's not strong enough as an offensive player to facilitate an offense like that. At least not compared to Jordan Poole, not compared to DeJounte Murray when he's healthy, and so on and so forth. But when those three are off the court, you need essentially a scoring guard to come in. Excuse me. You need a scoring guard to come in and just take those screens and attack. Because if they can get downhill, that opens up your offense a lot. Because you can run sets where you have, let's say the lineup is with the current guys that are healthy. Jordan Poole's still injured, so it would be Jeremiah Fears, Jordan Hawkins, let's say Herbert Jones, Yves Missy, and who would be the four? Sadiq Bey. That's what I'm forgetting. Say it's those five out there. There's an easy play that you can run where you put Bey and Herb in the two corners, have Jeremiah Fears bringing up the ball, have Missy set a down screen for, not a down screen, have him set almost like a Gortat screen for Jeremiah and let him get to the rim. So it forces the defense to either switch off of him, in which case he can bring it out, attack again, or he can just get a straight line and run up to the rim, or he can do the old Steve Nash, keep the ball alive, and then pass it out to a corner tray for her, pass out for a corner tray for Bey, or get Jordan Hawkins, and then you hit Jordan Hawkins, and then you go and just give him a little screen, and he pulls up for the midi. That's an easy play you can run, and that's something simple that you can do. But you have to have one of those three in the court at the time. You can't have Jose running that set. You can't have... You just can't. He's not as efficient enough doing that because he's not quick enough. He's not as much of a creator, and he's not as much of a threat gravity-wise. But like I said, those three, for the most part, should never be off the court. At least not all at the same time, unless it's garbage time, obviously. But with those three, you kind of got to keep them, at least one of them, on the court at some point. And Trey especially needs to play with either DQ or Z or Jordan Poole or Jeremiah, just someone who can actually be the primary ball handler and create. Because while I love Trey to death, he's best served as a catch and shoot and finisher. You need someone to actually create the plays for him, or at the very least someone who can handle the ball enough for Trey to move off the ball and get open. Not necessarily create it for him, but just enough so that Trey doesn't have to dribble and move on and move off the screens and move around the screens and attack. He doesn't have to do everything. That's essentially what I'm trying to say. The biggest concern I've seen by far with this Borrego team is the defensive sets. And I'll say this, the defense looks a lot better than what it did with Willie Green, but it's mainly because the team is actually attacking, and we're forcing turnovers. The hands have been amazing. We're forcing a ton of turnovers, and it's been good. The issue is, despite that, the teams are still shooting very efficiently. They're still hitting a ton of threes. Why is that? There's a couple reasons. The main one being you can't switch everything. That's one thing that we do that's very bad. We easily succumb to switches. And that's something Antonio Daniels talks about a lot on the broadcast. If you ever listen to a Pelicans broadcast, listen to Joel Myers, listen to Antonio Daniels. But AD especially, he talks a lot about the game, and he's where I learn a lot of this stuff. So credit to him for some of this. But you can't succumb to these switches. You can switch if need be, but you shouldn't succumb to them, especially not with a lot of these teams. If that's a trash team that you don't need like good defenders on everyone or things like that, that's a bit more acceptable. But when it's a team that actually has a creator, that has a Cooper Flag superstar, quote unquote, when it has a Stephen Curry, when it has these guys, you can't be switching. You can't be switching everything. You have to just fight through the screen, or at the very least have a help defender come up, stop it, and then get back to their man so the other person can recover. You don't need to switch. You just need to help and recover. That's it. Because that's the main issue. Because when you switch, that gives the offense an easy mismatch, and they'll just attack it every single time. And that's what cost us the game. Cooper Flag was attacking Derek Queen. Cooper Flag was attacking Jeremiah Fears, or whoever the point guard was on the floor. I think, yeah, it was Jeremiah Fears in the clutch. That's what happened. If you don't succumb that switch, who knows? Who knows? The other issue with this team is that we're giving up way too many open threes, and I don't know why that is. I really don't get. I get the logic. At least in the Denver game, there was logic. Okay, you double team Jokic, and then you left there Peyton Watson wide open. That I get, because Peyton Watson's, he was shooting 26% before he went into that game on 1.5 3-point attempts per game, and he hit 5 of them. You live with it. You live with it. Moses Moody, we don't have that excuse. The Warriors game, we don't have that excuse. Moses Moody is actually a good shooter. Max Christie? Yeah, Max Christie. I had to make sure I had the right Christie, because there's Max Christie, and then there's Chris Christie, who's also on... No, he's on the Clippers. Is he? There's another Christie. It's Max's brother, but Max Christie on the Mavericks. We gave him 4 or 5 threes. No, we gave him 3 threes in the third quarter, 5 or 6 total for the game, and they were all open. None of them were tough, and it's simply because the defense is switching so much. Let me break it down for you. You put, say Herb is the primary defender on Cooper Flag. Cooper and Daniel Gafford run a screening action. You switch Derek Queen onto Cooper Flag, Herb onto Daniel Gafford. Cooper drives past Derek Queen easily because he's a big man, slow feet. He can get by him. That forces the weak side defender on from the corner guarding Christie. Let's say it's Jeremiah Fears. I think Jeremiah Fears was guarding Christie all night. It causes Christie to have to come in and help out on Cooper Flag to stop him from getting to the rim. Now, one of two things happens there. Either Jeremiah Fears fouls him, gets him on the arm, or Cooper Flag passes out for a wide open Christie 3. That's another reason why you can't switch. You gotta maintain the matchups. You also just gotta, as AD says, just draw a line in the sand. That's the main thing. You gotta stand your ground and just stop him. Just stay your ground. Zion did this beautifully tonight. He drew his line in the sand. He played great defense. Why isn't everyone else doing this? Why isn't Trey doing this? Why isn't Jeremiah Fears doing this? Why isn't Derek Queen doing this? Why are we all not doing this? Why are we succumbing to these switches and making it easy for them? Make it hard for them. Continue to make it hard for them. And just play tight man defense, except for Derek Queen and Yves Missy, the centers, because what they do really well, what Derek Queen does really well, is he is very good at parking himself in the paint and being that anchor, kind of like a Rudy Gobert, where he's there. Let me not mess up my hair. He's there, he's big-bodied, and he just puts his presence there, especially when you have someone like Daniel Gafford, like Derek Lively, who are just rim runners. They don't have offensive threat outside the paint. So if they get in the paint, you can just back up and guard them. But if they're not in the paint, you can go up and double team the ball handler or whoever's attacking the rim and make it easy. And that's what they do really well. But someone who doesn't do that well, and I don't know, one second. Someone who doesn't do it really well is Yves Missy. He just doesn't park himself. He doesn't park himself well at all. And I think that's what he needs to learn, because he's a very good rim protector. He really is. If you park yourself and you just play good rim protecting defense in the paint, you could be a very serviceable and playable center. But right now you're trying to do all this other stuff on the defensive end. No, just park yourself. Just park yourself. You don't need a ball watcher or anything. Just park yourself. Be a rim protector. Guard the paint. That 15 feet of paint in the restricted section, boom, that's yours. Just tell yourself, don't let anyone score on that, and you're set. That's the only thing I'm worried about. The only thing you should be worried about, Eves. Because that's what Derek Queen does, and he's really good at it. He's a very underrated rim protector because he just moves his feet, finds a spot, and just protects the rim, hands up. He's not blocking shots. He's got a couple blocks, but he's not like up there swatting away. I was about to say something. I was about to be very sus. He's not swatting away shots into the stands or anything like that. But he's out there just putting his hands where they need to be so that he can just tip away the ball. That's the long and short of it. And that's what Eves needs to learn to do. Because he has the skill set. He has all the skills. He has the athleticism. He kind of has the timing. He's doing it wrong. That's the long and short of it. But okay, enough talking about James Borrego and the team, because it's only a couple games in. We have a lot more to see. But what does this team actually need? The team needs shooting, and the team needs defense. We need a 3-and-D. We need a shooting guard. That's the main thing. This team, and I'm going to get into our future in a little bit, but the team right now is... We need shooting. We need someone who's like a legitimate shooter, because here's how I break it up. There's such thing as a scorer and a shooter. There's two separate things. A shooter is someone who all his job is on the offensive side is to just catch and shoot, catch one dribble, shoot, catch one dribble, shoot. That's it. That's his whole job. That's it. He's not out there creating things. He's not there breaking down defenses. He's not out there doing anything. He is just an offensive shooter. Trey Murphy is an offensive shooter. I hate to say it. He's not a creator. He's an offensive shooter. Klay Thompson, in his prime, offensive shooter. Michael Porter Jr., I don't know how he's been doing this year. He may be a lot better this year, but back in Denver, offensive shooter. He's a shooter. These guys, you're not asking them to create. You're just asking them to space the floor. What's different is that there are scorers who just also happen to be three-point shooters. And a scorer is someone who actually creates for themselves, and when they shoot, it's self-created. It's not off the catch. It's not off others. It's not assisted. Jordan Poole is a shooter, but he's a scorer. He's not a shooter. Jordan Hawkins, he's a shooter. He's not a shooter. He's a creator shooter. He's a scorer, as I call him, even though he hasn't been scoring well lately. Who else? Steph Curry. Steph Curry is the perfect example. He is a shooter. He's the best shooter of all time. He's not a pure shooter. He is a scorer who also happens to be the greatest shooter of all time. And you maybe notice a trend like, okay, there's a lot of like stars who are scorers, but they're not shooters. So a scorer is a star. Not necessarily. Not necessarily at all. Brandon Boston. He's a good example. Brandon Boston can hit the three at a really good clip. He was not a shooter. He was a scorer. I'm trying to think of another good example. Reed Shepherd. Reed Shepherd's a very good example because he is a scorer. He's an amazing shooter. He's not a shooter. He's a scorer. That's another way. That's a way you can look at it. He's a good example as well. But we need more of those legit shooters across the board. We need a 3-and-D shooter. That's what we need. Someone who will come into the game, hit threes, and play solid D and call it good. Because we got that in Sadiq Bey, but we need a legit wing who can do that. Someone who can essentially fill in for Herb when the time comes. And you may be saying, like, actually, I shouldn't be saying that, because a lot of people are saying that Herb's been trash on the offensive end, and to each his own. But he has been a little rough. But you may be saying, like, Herb's a shooter. And yeah, he kind of is. That's his offensive role, is to be a play finisher, to be a shooter. But he's not a consistent enough shooter. You need a legitimate, like, okay, 38%, 39% shooter. Like, I would look at, because he's a free agent, Malik Beasley. Look at Malik Beasley, see if he wants to come in and be a shooter for us. And then keep it out on the trade market and see who wants to be traded. Because I don't know what teams are going to be I don't know what teams are going to be tanking and rebuilding and things like that. I don't have any idea about that yet. So wait and see, but keep an eye on those role players, because that's exactly what you need. Last thing I want to get into before we wrap it up is the Pelicans' future and why I'm not worried about it. A lot of people are saying the Pels are in the worst situation in the NBA, and it definitely does seem this way. I'm not saying that they're wrong. What I am saying is patience is key with this team, because you have your core. You have the core set. You got Derek Queen. You got Jeremiah Fears. You got Trey Murphy. And you have Zion Williamson. Whether or not he stays, that's another topic that we can discuss another day. But you have your core three there. Plus you got Herb Jones. Plus you got Micah Peavy. Plus you have all of these guys who will be core pieces, who will hopefully be core pieces for the long term. It's just a matter of seeing how they develop, how these role-playing guys develop, like Micah Peavy, seeing how he develops and seeing if he fits or if you need to trade him and get an upgrade. You have the core. You got to be patient and let them develop, though. You forget, Derek Queen is still a rookie. Jeremiah Pierce is still a rookie. They're young. Very, very young. And they're already out here scoring, facilitating. They're already out here doing everything you need them to do. And yeah, they're going to mess up. They're young. But patience is key here. And I'm fine. I am perfectly fine with what Joe Dumars did, because he got something special in Derek Queen. He shot for the fences. And he hit a bullseye with Derek Queen. Because now you don't have to go gambling anymore. You don't have to go gambling in the draft and seeing if AJ Diabate, if you even get the first overall pick and you can get AJ Diabate, and if he's even, I'm saying his name wrong by the way, but even if he's going to be a good player or not, if he's going to be that guy for you, you don't have to gamble anymore. You have what you need. Now just have to be patient and slowly retool and put the pieces together until they fit. So I'm not worried. It's going to be rough, and it's going to look rough. And you still have a lot of time this season to turn the season around and get into the play-in. But long term, I'm really not worried. I'm just worried right now about, okay, let's get healthy. Let's start winning some games. And let's see these guys develop and grow. And let's see how much we can get out of them and what we need to tell them to work on and what we need to see from them development-wise down the road. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I'm going to have more videos out in the coming months, I should say, as we get into December, because we're going to be talking about trade season and going to be looking at some of those things. But again, if you want more content, if you want more consistent content, go check out the TikTok, go check out the Instagram. That's why I'll be posting a lot more of the day-to-day stuff, a little bit more short-form content, so you don't have to sit through this every single time. And I give similar details, but this is obviously where you go for the more in-depth and that analytical stuff. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you on the flip side.